Good morning. So my guest today, I'm so excited, is Meisha, and you'll hear my obsession with her here in a second. So she and I met through Line and Form Atelier, but also Line and Form Foundation. And eventually we'll get Fran on here and you guys can learn all about what Line and Form is because it's a really great organization that does really cool work. But today, is Meisha, and I want to tell you what she's doing a little bit, and she's going to talk about more because it's pretty awesome. So she is with Indie Housing Agency. So resident relations, I'm going to read it so I don't mess it up. Communications and partnerships. Did I get that right?
Community partnerships, yeah.
Community partnerships. Okay, and then she also does this cool thing. She does Wide Lens Wellness, which is growing. You've been doing that for a few years, and now you're doing this really awesome project called the Umbrella Garden, which is really what I want to talk about today because I think it's spectacular. And it butts up to all those things that I love, and eventually one day when I grow up, we'll be able to do what you're kind of doing in a different way. So tell us today, what do you do? I mean, I segued it, but what do you do in your words?
So I'll take you back a little further. Wide Lens started in 2009. So I used to own a fitness center when I was a fresh 20-something, had this idea of helping the world and the Indianapolis community by way of fitness and wellness. Ran a big fitness center for almost 10 years. The economy changed. People's disposable income was different, and fitness centers and gym memberships weren't a priority. So I started to do more community outreach under the umbrella of, well, it's crazy that I say umbrella, under the umbrella of my Wide Lens. So Wide Lens Wellness became the way that I was connected in community engagement. And so that introduced me to a lot of local nonprofits and just the different needs of the city. And it grew and became something that I felt like I needed to have a more hands-on leadership role with some nonprofits, and that's how I got around to finding Indianapolis Housing Agency. Cool. And so what I've been there the past couple of years is connecting residents to community resources, being health and wellness or economic development, job placement, education, and just a way to enhance the lives of the families that are residents of the many properties of Indianapolis Housing Agency. Through that work that I've done there, I've found some small grassroots organizations that need a little extra help connecting to resources. And I feel like my gift is to be a good steward of those resources. And so one of the words that I coined as my word for 2020, so each year I start out the year with what's my word for the year: stewardship. So I decided in January 2020 was going to be my year of stewardship. So I'm not going to just sit and wait for things to happen. If I see a need or use of my gifts, it's best for me to make sure that I'm sharing that. And so that's been my mission this year. It's amazing what COVID did on that fearful Friday, March 13th, that shifted a lot of the efforts that I've been doing this year and poured more into me having an emphasis on that word this year. So it's been a scary, weird, crazy, exciting time. And just really looking forward to how I will continue to serve.
I love it. And you're doing all of this right now, sitting outside of Ransom Place, having this conversation, speaking about being in the middle of community. Talk about, because this is what I love, tell us about Umbrella Garden.
So Umbrella Garden Play Cafe is literally an idea that has been sitting on my heart for a good amount of years. And it started because my daughters, I've got 3 kids. So my daughters are 14 and 12, and my son is 4. But my girls, when I was running my business, they were by my side all the time. So I would go into places with this 2-year-old and 4-year-old, and they were literally just my little people. So I would do work, didn't matter where I was going. They'd sit there, I'd have work to be done. But back then, if we walked into a Starbucks with a toddler, I'm walking in and people look at me like, oh my God, she's brought the Tasmanian devil into the China shop and let's make sure that we're not going to touch anything or it's going to be crazy and weird. And so in my mind, I've always thought, what if there's a space that is okay with mom bringing in the toddler or the stroller and things being awkward when you first come in? It shouldn't be awkward. So there should be a space that's welcoming and comforting for stay at home, work from home, or even just people that need an opportunity to get a conversation with an adult. Have them come in. The little ones have play space or somebody to guide them, just to make sure that you're enjoying your little life while mom has a cup of coffee, has a conversation, or even has an opportunity to brainstorm about ideas or whatever work they're doing. And that's where Umbrella Garden Play Cafe was birthed. I've done a couple of focus groups and different pop-up events before 2020, but this year told me that it's time for it to become real, before it to come to life. And so last year, I partnered with a really, really good friend of mine on a grant that talked about what the needs for the state were as far as early learning and early education. And it was just like, oh, we'll just write this thing and see what happens. We won it. We were one of the top 3 recipients. And it was that moment that said, okay, God, this is really about to be real. And let's just see what's going to happen next. Doors just started opening after that. And so
Those of you, go ahead, keep going.
Go.
Well, I was going to say, those who are watching that obviously know my journey and story, this should sound very familiar. And now I think you can understand why I said in the beginning, my slight obsession, because she's doing it and you're doing, you know, in a different version, but about, you know, what my dream hopes to be one day. And so I love having that opportunity to champion you and how you're making things happen and you're getting it going. And I love it so much. So those of you listening at home or on your phone, if this sounds familiar, it should. And she's doing it. And so this is a big reason why we're having this conversation, is because we want to amplify her voice as well. So sorry to cut you off. I got excited.
No, I love it though, because that are confirmation that yes, this is time. Yes, this is needed. And my fears should not be any bigger than the needs and the opportunity that this presents for the community. So I've had to like get over it, put on my big girl panties and say, now is the time. Don't self-sabotage yourself.
Yes.
You know, that you are offering what the community needs. And so it was crazy. Before COVID, this is kind of like the coin pre-COVID, I was given an opportunity through Startup 317 to find a vacant retail space downtown Indianapolis that would be a way for me to have a pop-up shop for the month of May. The month of May came around and everything shut down. There's no face-to-face opportunities. And so they were literally going to scrap all of the pop-up retail spaces. But something came about where they said, hey, we're doing these window installations. Do you think you could use a window? I was like, yeah, I could put some pictures up and talk about what the thing will be. My window was in a space that used to be a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm not afraid of getting the answer of no, I said, maybe I should try and see if that old restaurant space, I could use it for a pop-up event. I asked, they were like, yeah, sure, whenever you want. And so now it turned into more than just a window display, but I have literally occupied this space to use it for whatever my vision is for Umbrella Garden Play Cafe. And it kind of just, it gives me the chills just to know that these opportunities are opening up the way that they have. And the name Umbrella Garden Play Cafe, I mean, the Play Cafe in itself is just a way for us to make sure that it is a space that's open to play and for kiddos. But Umbrella, the symbolism behind Umbrella, it came to me in a dream. I know this sounds like creepy, spiritual, but it came to me in a dream.
You've got the right audience. Keep going.
I woke up and I said, there's something about an umbrella and having the security and the comfort and support in having that umbrella. And I want to provide that to women, especially Black women like me that have dreams and aspirations to support families. How can I do that? And to grow that kind of community and that support is where the garden came from. So I'm growing a community that's affirming family experiences. And so the word Play Cafe is an acronym. So it's not just a play cafe that has coffee, tea, sometimes grown-up beverages when we get to that point, but the community that I wanted to develop to affirm family experiences. So that's
so
like
good.
all of it in a nutshell of what it is to become and what it will grow to be. And then
Exactly
just
the right words. It
dream.
will become.
Yes. Yes. So it's exciting. Awesome. I love talking about it, and it kind of feels like I have diarrhea of the mouth. It's just talking about it, but I love it though.
Oh, I love hearing about it. I'm so excited. Okay, so we kind of did a little bit of like, you kind of jumped my question. So kind of how we got there, nailed it. A little bit of that struggle, obviously COVID has done some things, but girl, you overcame.
Yeah.
So tell me, in those struggles, I mean, obviously being able to do a couple pop-ups, which every time you go live with them, I always feel like I'm like, done. I don't even care what I'm doing. Watch. What has been some of your, like, what's been a delight in this whole process, or just in COVID, or just yesterday?
I think even just this past weekend's pop-up with the book signing, it was a book with a mom. Her son's 8 years old, and it was a dialogue, just a back and forth conversation with them about if humans can fly. And the conversation was about birds and airplanes and helicopters. And the revelation, not to be a spoiler alert, but the revelation was humans can do anything. Humans can fly. You can set your dreams to be whatever they are and go after it. And so watching that process for them is exciting, and knowing that it's a lane that people just shouldn't be afraid to jump out there and do. And so the more opportunities that I can provide to say, let me give you this space so you can achieve your dreams, like, I couldn't ask for anything more than that.
So good. So half of what you're doing is amplifying other people anyway, which is
Yep.
in reality the best feeling. I'm 100% with you. How can we as a community right now, and all those things that you're doing, how can we, tell us how to show up for you? Obviously, we can share posts, and I'm going to make sure to put all those links in here. But how can we help?
Yeah, so it's literally me being a mentor or an advisor. If you know someone that has this wild dream of starting some business, or that has an idea that wants to start a nonprofit, I would love to connect them to those resources. I feel like my role as a connector is to give and be of service to them. Starting to coach and be a consultant in that way is the direction that I see a lot of this work going, especially in this time where people are just like, what do I do? How can I help? Especially with diversity and inclusion issues that are going on. People are willing and ready to give, and sometimes just don't know how or where to start. And so if I can be of service in that way, that's like the biggest thing that I can see myself asking the community now.
Literally, your ask for help is to help others. I mean. So let's come down to, obviously Trace Indy, and half of what I want to do here, other than just have coffee and conversations with women that I find amazing, is how do you want to leave your trace on this community? And whether it's just this community, or do we want to go bigger, but how do you want to leave that mark? It's a big question.
I know, it's so huge. And I think about, I'm one of the crazy ones that, like I said, has teenagers and a toddler. So I've seen the world in a light with my daughters. And then now here with this little boy, it's changed my perspective and made me rethink a lot of things, and just really what I want to do and not be afraid to do. I really just want to leave the mark of helping to enhance the quality of life for families. So if that's a matter of discovering the greatness of the neighborhoods in Indianapolis, or finding those small grassroots organizations that have been grinding and hustling day in, day out to support their community. How can I help to showcase that? So if I'm seen as that light or as that vehicle, then I've done all that I'm supposed to do. So.
Oh, I just love you.
Oh,
Everyone, oh my God, everyone watching this is just going to be like, okay, how, like I literally in my head am going through all the people that I've now thought of that I want to connect you with. And then also like, I want to invest in you in some way too. Like I just,
yeah,
y'all know, I told you that I was obsessed with her. I mean, if I can't get her to like be a partner with me on projects, then I'm just going to invest, and that's just what's going to happen. So, thank you for taking the time and pulling over and finding a shady spot and having a conversation with me.
It worked out great.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.